Hey guys, this is Daniel, president of TraderDaddy. Today on our new series that we have, which is interviewing full-time traders, we have Harry. He is the founder of Option Spreads. He has a large community, mostly through TikTok and Discord. We are happy to have him today and answer a few questions. Before I begin, we are happy to have a sponsor for this video. So real quick, hey guys, this is Daniel, president of TraderDaddy. We do have a sponsor for today's video, Moomoo Financial. They are the #1 rated broker on TradingView. They have an easy to use app and award-winning platform. Yes, I said award-winning, as in they won the 2024 FinTech Awards for Best Trading Platform. They also have a great social community on the platform, and that really helps traders stay informed of what's happening in the market. It's no wonder why they have over 23 million users. When you use the link below, you can get up to 15 stocks with a qualified deposit. You can also get up to $300 in cash rewards when transferring in stocks from another account. Using Moomoo supports TraderDaddy and its mission to help bring free in-person trading events to as many people as possible. So, Harry, why don't you just begin a little bit with what market you trade, sort of your overall story of where you are now.
My origin story. So, what's up, guys? My name is Harry. I am 24 years old, and currently I am traveling the world full time. And most of that, if not all of that, is financed through my trading. So, I got my start around 7 years ago. Back when I was like 16, 15 years old, I was trying to make money flipping sneakers. So, I joined my first ever Discord community, and I was trying to make money in there. And in the Discord, I noticed that there was a separate section for investing. So I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe another way to make some money. So I started checking that out. And then immediately I was just infatuated with the world of investing. And from there on, I had this kind of like fire inside me just to keep learning the market because I'm like, wow, there's like a lot of potential here. And I obviously everyone knows stocks, everyone knows like hedge funds, how much money those people make. So if I could learn to do something like that, then wow, this could really change my life. So that's how my journey started. And since then, I mean, I've gone through the entire learning curve. I tried trading stocks, penny stocks, day trading, swing trading, just simple investing, even dividends at one time. Then I figured out, or then I learned about options. And that's when my journey took a big turn because I realized, wow, with options, like this is a whole new world. And little did I know, right, at that time, that how big the options world actually was. So, yeah, I started learning options. I started trading options, kind of went through the learning curve. Again, around this time, I also started dabbling in crypto. So a lot of the money that I am playing with today, I am fortunate enough to say I got because I was a early adopter and investor in a lot of good cryptocurrency projects back in like 2016, 2015 even. So there's that. So I was doing that on the side. I was learning options. And fast forward like 2 or 3 years later, right? I'm pretty much just trading like naked puts and calls at this point. But then I learned about these other strategies called option spreads, which is what I currently trade today.
Mhm.
Um, and after learning more about these strategies, it again opened up an entire new world to me. They're just strategies that not a lot of people know about, but people in the option trading community definitely know about them. But most of retail, most people who don't really invest in options or barely even invest in stocks, they have no idea what these things are. And these are tools that are being utilized on the highest level across the entire financial industry. So that's pretty much how I got to where I am. My bread and butter are option spreads, stocks too, and crypto essentially. No futures, no forex, nothing like that. Mainly those three markets for now.
What would be the best advice you could give to someone who is just starting out, that is watching social media and YouTube videos? What's something that you would go back and tell yourself, during that stage?
I would definitely tell myself, don't believe everything you see online. I also have done the content creator side of things. I have a channel online, like you previously mentioned. I did that for 2 years, teaching people how to invest in options the right way. But the truth is, so I've kind of seen behind that influencer veil, if you will. And the truth is that people just want clicks, right? A lot of these guys make their money from subscriptions, they make their money from views, they make their money from ads on these platforms. And a lot of their videos aren't designed. Sure, I mean, what they're talking about, there's a million different ways you could analyze a stock, right? Everyone's going to have the next groundbreaking system or candlestick strategy or indicator that is going to 10x your trading revenue, right? That's just not going to happen. Because if it were that easy, everybody would be doing it. There wouldn't be professionals who spend their lives, mastering this skill. People who go to school for years and years and get really high levels of certification just to make like a 15 to 20% return on a fund every
Yeah.
single year. Like that's considered like really, really good, right?
Mhm.
And you're not going to find the answers you're looking for just going on YouTube. You're going to find the answers you're looking for, putting in the work, cultivating your own strategy, refining it, back testing it, and putting in the reps. Trading isn't about like hitting a home run trade every single time. It's about, okay, if I take 1,000 trades, how many of those 1,000 can I win? And it needs to be at least 50%, right? It's about taking the same trade over and over again, finding the same setup over and over again, and getting good at one thing rather than trying to master the whole market at once. So my advice to any new traders is focus on one concept, see if you like it. If you don't like it, move on to the next. And if you think, this something matches your trading style, your psychology, whatever, these are all things that you need to take note of and apply that whenever you are trying to cultivate your own personal trading strategy.
Where do you see the market uh, going in, let's say, the next month, the next 6 months, the next year, the next 5 years? Given
Um,
elections coming up, given, some possible super bullish waves happening in crypto. What do you see happening in the near future and then going out maybe to 5 years or so?
are you talking about just like equities? Or are you talking about like
Both
all like
equities and
crypto,
just the whole everything together.
everything? So, I mean, equities are probably going to be fine. I don't think um, we have a lot of data coming out suggesting like, oh, we're in a recession, blah, blah, blah. We have rate cuts starting to come in. So they do that whenever they are trying to boost the economy. The Fed believes that inflation is at a reasonable level, so they are more comfortable cutting rates. So that's kind of the big factor. There's also the geopolitical events. There's the war developing in the Middle East, and then also the China-Taiwan tension. There's a lot of tension in the world right now too. So obviously, like I can't predict exactly what's going to happen. But if there's a war, then um, the stock or the market is going to dip. But um, you always want to buy the invasion. There's always a dip before, or like right when the war is starting. But history has the trend throughout history is sell the invasion, or sorry, sell the news, buy the invasion. So if that happens, that's what I will be looking out for. I don't have really any like dramatic concerns, like oh there's not going to be like a 2008 type crash again, in my opinion. Anything, any dip in the market is going to be short-lived, max like 6 months to a year, right? But after that, um, 1 year or 6 month horizon is over, then the market should continue going up like normal. And for crypto, I'm expecting the tail end of this bull run to kick off 2025, maybe like late Q2, around Q2 to maybe the end of the year. Um, and yeah, that's really what I'm expecting. That's what I'm positioning myself for. Crypto, I think, is going to do very well. Altcoins have been getting destroyed lately, so I think we're going to
Right.
see a lot of those pop as well. Ethereum hasn't even reached an all-time, like a new all-time high yet. Bitcoin has, Ethereum hasn't. So the way crypto cycles work is money flows into Bitcoin first, and then Ethereum, then the altcoins, and then meme coins, NFTs, stuff like that. So we really haven't seen Bitcoin have that huge push yet. 100K is kind of like the magical number everybody is looking for. So once Bitcoin hits 100K, then that's when I'm like, okay, now, we're back. Even
Oh,
like above 70, 75K. Like once we break that, I think
oh,
100K is going to be very close. And then we'll see Ethereum, the altcoins, and probably meme coins too, and the rest of the market, the rest of the crypto market hopefully perform the same. But for equities, not expecting anything too crazy. Um, Maybe a slight dip because of the war, but over the next 3, 5 years, I can't predict that far out. Like no one knows what's going to happen 4 or 5 years from now. But um, right now, I have no reason to be concerned. I mean, there's a million different things I could tell you about. Oh, the NVIDIA's the semiconductor bubble's going to pop, the AI bubble's going to pop, the war is going to break out,
yeah.
COVID's going to come back. Like a
There's a lot
million
of
different
them.
things can
Right.
happen. But yeah.
No, I get it. What are your like bread and butter either industries or bread and butter stocks that you like to play in your equity stock spreads, option spreads?
So that's a good question. So if I'm doing spreads, I like to play obviously liquid options. I want to be able to get in and out. So no sketchy
Can you
companies, no
explain what that
options.
means?
Yeah, like sketchy options. Yeah, I was about to.
Yeah, what
So sketchy option,
is a liquid option?
what's an illiquid option? You cut out, is that what you said?
No, I'm just gonna go. Yeah, no, just what is a liquid option?
So a liquid option is an option with a really tight bid-ask spread. So let's say an option, someone was willing to sell an option for $100, but the next person willing to buy the option only wants to buy it for like $75. So there's a $25 difference there in the bid-ask spread. So that's very illiquid. A liquid option would be like, okay, someone's trying to sell for 100, but someone is willing to buy for like 98, 97. So there's a very small difference there. And that's a liquid option, right? So most of the time, liquid options are on liquid or very popular stocks. So big tech stocks, Amazon, Meta, Nvidia, stuff like that. Um, but you can also find liquidity in a lot of, I mean, obviously there's a lot of liquidity out there, a lot of other stocks you can find liquid options for. But I find for like the big tech stocks are some of my favorite. But as far as just shares, I always tell people to, I always preach the leveraged ETFs. So like PQQQ, you can make triple. If you're just buying and holding passively in the market, the market on average goes up 10% a year. So you can assume, QQQ will increase about that much every single year. But TQQQ is triple leverage. So instead of 10, you'd be making, more than that, 20, 30% per year, which really makes a difference when you're dealing with, compounding money and stuff like that. So that can really make a difference over the long term, as well as leveraged ETFs for individual stocks. So like NVDL for like NVIDIA, for example, every single big tech stock that you have heard of, there's a leveraged ETF for where you can get twice the amount of exposure. And the options on those stocks or ETFs are very volatile because obviously like you're getting twice the amount of movement from the underlying stock. So the premium on those options are going to be very expensive, but expensive premium isn't necessarily a bad thing for option traders. It just means you can sell options and make more money. So that's exactly what I do.
Very good. So, can you tell people a little bit what it's where you are currently and since your windfall from your crypto company, what it's like trading on a daily basis, some of the how you structure your day as a full-time trader on an average day, um, some of the things that you look for, just the overall uh, sort of structure of your day as a full-time trader.
Cool. So yeah, so I'm in Asia right now, so the market opens at 9:30 or 8:30 p.m. for me. And I'm fortunate enough to have a very hands-off strategy. So a lot of my trading comes from upfront research, which I can do before market open, which works out for me perfectly. So I can really structure my day around that. Um, but to be honest, like if my capital is deployed, I'm not really looking for plays because the plays I'm holding, I'm holding for, 3 months, 6 months, a year. So I don't need to actively scout out new plays every day, right? Once I have my plays and my money is deployed, um, the cash flow starts coming in, and then I can reinvest that money, which is what I usually do on a day-to-day basis. It's like, okay, where can I make, I can invest my money. Where can I make an additional, 10K per month versus, 5K per month in this stock, right? So it's really just trying to maximize growth and looking for opportunities within the market. So I'm going through option chains, I'm going through charts, I'm creating different option plays, different spread plays, running scenarios in my head, doing back testing. But once I actually take the trade, managing the trade is very easy. Um, I literally just check the price, when I wake up or, before I go to bed, see if there's anything dire or important, maybe check the options a little bit. And then that's it. I really don't actively trade during the market that much. A lot of it, most of it, honestly, is just upfront research. So I've been able to adapt, even with the 12-hour, 11-hour time change across the world. But that's because that's my strategy. If you're a normal trader, then you're going to need to sit in front of the computer and watch and do all that. But obviously, people trade so they can get financial freedom. Freedom to me isn't sitting in front of a computer all day.
Right.
Uh, Making money. So that's why I like my strategy that I've developed over the many years I've been trading. It's very hands off. I do the research, find good plays, find good setups, and then take the trade, monitor the setup, hands off, and then close the position, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days from when I take it. And yeah,
How important is risk management in your strategy, and how important is it for a new trader who is
oh,
just
it's
starting?
the most important thing. It's the most important thing because as traders, you can only risk is really one of the only things you can control in the market. You can't control what the market does. You can't control where it moves, but you can control how much you risk, right?
Mm, right.
So it's very important not to overtrade or over leverage, not to risk too much, because then, obviously, if you take a bad trade, you're going to get wiped out. It's going to set you back pretty far. So it's important to develop your own risk management parameters. There's so many different methods you can do. Um, and again, it just comes down to finding your own personal style and being able to know yourself, know your psychology, and mitigate your own risk. Um, and part of risk management too isn't even just like, okay, how much capital do I deploy on this trade? It's like knowing your own psychology. It's like, oh, I've had a bad day. I'm revenge trading right now. Let me walk away from the computer for the rest of the day or 2 days, whatever. That's risk management too,
Yeah,
because you're managing your own risk, the risk you
sure.
pose to yourself.
Yeah,
And people don't really talk about that. People just talk about, oh, okay, stop loss at 20%. Okay, cool. And then let it run. But
yeah,
there's also emotional and personal risk that people don't talk about too. So that's where I see most people struggling because just creating a principle of, okay, 20% stop loss, or I'm going to
yeah,
only invest this much, right? That's easy on paper, but in reality, it's really hard to stay disciplined and follow that.
right. What are your thoughts on then with newer traders practicing their trades on practice accounts or paper money, or do you maybe more suggest starting with a small amount of money? How would you direct that sort of
That's a
strategy?
that's exactly what I suggest. Actually, I usually tell people to stay away from paper trading because you don't care if that money gets lost, right? With real money, there's an emotional attachment to it. So I always recommend even if it's one, $200, just get your feet wet,
Right.
like get the feeling of investing, making or losing money because new traders they're very emotional, obviously. So their wins are going to feel great, but their losses they're really going to beat themselves up, right? So they
Mhm.
need to get used to that discipline, figuring out their own emotions and self before they really start investing or trading meaningful amounts of money.
What would you recommend to someone who knows their strategy pretty well with stocks, knows their strategy well with options, is literate in, let's say, Forex and futures as well, but knows nothing about crypto and wants to get started? Um, what would you tell them to do if they said they had, time and resources?
Well, obviously understanding what you are looking to invest in is very important. So I would go on YouTube. I would look up crypto basics. There's a ton of like educational videos out there simply explaining what blockchain and Bitcoin is. Then I would go maybe read like the Ethereum white paper. If I was really, really committed, that's definitely what I would do. That will give you a very sound and technical understanding
What is the
of crypto.
Ethereum
And
paper?
so it's like it's pretty much what Ethereum is, how it works, the math and logic behind it. It literally is like the blueprint to Ethereum. And then if you're looking to trade crypto, first of all, I would download Twitter if you don't have Twitter or X,
Right.
whatever. Crypto lives on Twitter, right? I'm not saying that you're going to find the best investment advice on Twitter, but you're going like people live on Twitter. Like having a big following on Twitter as a crypto person is by far the most important thing you could go for. So on Twitter, you're going to be able to follow and kind of just shadow most, if not all, of the prominent figures in crypto. So you can follow them, see what they're doing. And then honestly, what I would do, like smart thing to do, the thing about crypto too is everything is public. Everything on the blockchain is public, so you can see what people are trading. So I would try and find some of the top performing wallets and traders and
Copy.
just stalk them and see what they're buying, see what they're doing, because those guys are the ones making the money, especially the people with the following. And they're kind of like behind the scenes. They know the teams, they know the hedge funds, the VCs, they know everyone. It's a different world on the other side over there versus a retail trader. And that's what makes up a large portion of crypto are a lot of VCs, a lot of influencers, a lot of whales. They're
Right.
the ones who really call the shots, right? So um, that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is look into different narratives. So, for example, gaming is a narrative, AI is a narrative,
Right.
DePIN or data is a narrative. There are all these different narratives out there. I would pick two or three and get really, really good at um, learning those narratives, the big players, all the big ecosystems, and then really it's just getting involved. Join different communities, talk to other crypto traders, and collect information and build a solid community, a solid network of people who are also in the crypto space. Because crypto is a whole different animal too. Crypto is the first ever asset class where everyone in the world is investing in the same thing. That's the only asset in the class in the world like that. So because of that, there are a lot of new and exciting developments that happen honestly every single day. So if you can stay on top of those developments, you're going to have an edge over the rest of retail investors who are just buying Solana or Ethereum or whatever and have no idea what's going on. So if you dive headfirst into crypto, you will make money and just commit
Interesting.
everything. Yeah.
You think it's a good time for crypto just generally?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the next, I mean, honestly, the next 5 years are going to be like generational wealth is going to be created. Either if you're trading it, investing, or especially if you're building in crypto, if you build a
Right.
good crypto project, there's a ton of opportunity because everything is moving online. Everything is becoming digitized. So
Right.
having a presence in the digital space, especially with something as important as currency or anything in that world, it's going to have a huge impact and could potentially change your life.
You were a finance major, correct?
Yeah.
Would you recommend to people who are maybe finishing up high school or just starting in college to go into being a finance major, maybe an economics major? How helpful was that for you? And what is your overall opinion on the American college system?
So yeah, I have my finance degree from Florida State University, and my experience, I mean, I love my experience, but it depends on what your goals are, right? If you're trying to become like a hedge fund manager, investment banker, CFA, anything like that, then yes, you're going to need school. You're going to need to go get your 4-year degree, and then you're going to need to get your MBA from somewhere. If you want to work at one of these prestigious firms, that is one route you could take. But if you're trying to take the trader route, right? Just trading your own money, being independent, then no, I would say it's not needed at all, actually. I actually learned zero knowledge about trading in and of itself, or honestly investing in school. But it did build a very good base of knowledge just for simple economics, how to read, how to analyze companies, how to dissect key
Financial
data,
news.
interest rates. Yeah, exactly. So stuff like that and accounting as well. If you really want to make a lot of money in the market, then accounting is a good major because if you can, read balance sheets, read different filings and stuff like that, you can find inefficiencies in companies that are fundamentally overvalued or undervalued, and then base your investment decisions on that, on top of different technical analysis and trading techniques, option spreads, whatever. So I think it can only help you, but again, it depends on what uh, route you're trying to take in life, right? If you want to be just a full-time trader, trading your own money, I would say no. College isn't really required for that. But if you want like a prestigious investment banking or hedge fund finance job, then I would say absolutely it's worth it. And I recommend getting your education.
Right. In your trading and in your strategy, how important is technical analysis and chart reading comparative to fundamental news and just news in general?
I would say fundamental moves are the greatest factor. Technical moves are more for timing, right? But something has to be driving that move, either up or down. And that reason is a fundamental reason, right? The fundamentals could be geopolitical events, could be interest rates, could just be money flow, right? Could just be attention. There's a lot of
Yeah.
different things, but technical analysis is it's needed. It's kind of like two sides of the same coin, right? You have fundamental analysis and technical analysis. You need both of them. You need to master both of them. Um, and with technical analysis, right, for me, it's not as important because my trades aren't solely reliant off of timing, right? I'm holding these positions for, months on end, sometimes years on end. And what happens, 1 week or in
Right.
2 weeks isn't going to affect the broader move, right? So that's why what I do and what I recommend everyone does is if they're trying to invest their money, I recommend dollar cost averaging. So instead of investing all your money at once, invest it, 25% every 2 weeks for the
Right.
next 2 months. And then your timing is less and less important for every single trade, right? If you invest
Right.
all your money at once, you have to nail it on that trade and you can make or lose a lot of money. But if you dollar cost average, then you're managing your risk because if, let's say after your first one or two investments, the stock dumps, then you're going to be down a lot of money, right?
Right.
But you still have the other 50% that you can invest average down and then go from there if you want, versus just investing everything and then being stuck in a position that's unprofitable and being forced with a tough decision to either, take a loss or hold out and see if this thing can come back. It's a lot of stress if you're in that position.
What activist investors do you, or CEOs, or fund managers, or politicians, do you follow closely,
To
or do you like to
be
follow?
honest, uh, I like to hear the opinions of people, but I don't just blindly follow people um, just because they buy something. I think it's interesting what they buy. And I'm not going to say that, oh, just because big name buys something that I won't buy it because that's not true. Like there's a reason they're buying it. Um, the one thing though is I wouldn't believe everything they say on like live TV, for example, because they have their own like agendas too. They have plays that they don't have to disclose, right? They have what's called dark pools, which are big
Right.
buys from people. You can't really put a name on it, but all their holdings are public, right? But the people who take plays that I do find interesting are politicians because they have the insider knowledge. But what I've found is that, sometimes they front run the actual move by a good month or two, but they're not
Right.
always right either. They're not all knowing. They still can get trades wrong, but like Pelosi is a great example. She makes a killing. Somehow it's still legal for them to trade with
Yeah.
that knowledge. But um, I think following people like her, like if she buys something, I wouldn't just blindly follow that, right? I would keep like a note in my
Yeah.
head and then I would check the technicals and that just adds to the conviction of the play if I were to take it.
So being someone who amassed a large following and had viral videos, what advice would you give to people who are starting out as creators in any space and sort of your experience on how to build, and what would your advice be in 2024, 2025 on how to grow their own communities on social media?
My advice, and this is just cold hard advice, is that nobody gives a fuck about what you're doing, right?
Right.
Because there's so much noise out there. If you're not solving one of three problems, you're not educating, you're not motivating or entertaining, no one's going to care. Ideally, you do all three at the same time. And the amount of creators in just on the internet now, it's increasing every single year because the creator economy has been flourishing and it's going
Yeah.
to flourish for the next, who knows, 50 years, 100 years, maybe even longer, right? So the quality of content that people are
Right.
accepting is increasing over time. So my advice would be to number one, really ask yourself if this is something you want to commit to for the next 1 to 2 years, right? With no guaranteed results or traction at all.
Yeah.
Because for me, the first 3 months, I was stuck below 10K and I was grinding 3 to 5 videos every single day from my college apartment, right? But I was determined to get that following. And I woke up every single day and I made videos. Sometimes it was hard. Sometimes I didn't want to make videos. Sometimes
Yeah.
I didn't have any ideas. Sometimes I
Yeah.
didn't like just filming is hard and it takes a long
Yeah.
time, especially I was just using an iPhone. So I was solely relying on the value and information I was giving, making sure that people who watch my stuff actually get value
Yeah.
from the video itself. So you need to be able to, it takes a certain type of person, right? Because
Right.
if you're not an outspoken, or person or a good teacher or a knowledgeable person, it's going to be very hard for you to make content. People need to enjoy watching you, they need entertainment, and they also need to learn something or be motivated, right? For me, I tried to entertain the best I could. I'm not an entertainer. I'm more of an educator. So I focused on just delivering straight value every single day, and eventually, people respond to that. And the way I think of creating content is every single video is like a lottery ticket, right?
Right.
If you buy more lottery tickets, the
Right.
more likely you are to win, right? If you post only one video a day, the chances of one of those videos going viral is significantly lower than if you post 3 to 5 times a day, right?
Right.
Because think about it. If you post once a day, you're only posting 7 times a week. If you're posting 3 to 5 times a day, that's 35
Yeah.
videos a week.
30. Yeah. That's
So,
awesome. Yeah.
so posting a lot is my advice. Focus on quantity and then focus on quality, making every single post better, on average moving forward.
Um, how would you, what would, going off of that, how important would you say public speaking in general is to the younger generation, now that might not be, that maybe it wasn't as required for them during the technology boom. Um, can you expand on how important it is uh, to embrace public speaking in general?
Um, yeah, I mean, public s- public speaking online, I don't really
Or
even see
yeah,
it
just
as public speaking.
yeah. Well, it is
Like
public
public
speaking.
speaking for me, well, I mean, public speaking for me, you're in like a auditorium or there's a
Oh,
crowd
okay, right. So it's
and
different, but
you're face to face. But like if you're alone in your
right.
room with a camera, I wouldn't even count that as
Interesting.
public speaking because you can just do it over. You can just do it
Right.
over.
That's
When you're
true. That's
speaking in a
true.
crowd,
Yeah, it's
you're
interesting.
speaking in a crowd, there's no do-overs. You're free flowing. You have to be articulate the first time. You have to prepare. And that's the real value that I think people are missing out on these days, especially because it's a technology era. Humans aren't connecting with each other as much as, they have in the past, back before technology was this prevalent. So I think there is something lacking there. And I think that if you were to cultivate your public speaking ability, then you
Yeah.
would
Transfer
definitely
over.
stand out among your peers.
Yeah, I found it interesting because Josh from CEO Watchlist, when he came to the last event, um, he was speaking to maybe 25, 30 people. And, the first thing he said is, he said, "Oh, I guess I get to try out my public speaking or my public speaking class from college. I finally get to use that." And I thought, wow, this guy has like a billion views on social media, and 25 people, is something where he considers that public speaking. So it is interesting, to hear your point where it's like, yeah, well, online you can do it over. But regardless, when you're talking to someone, yeah, I also think it's extremely important. I was looking at a statistic that it was something like um, less than 5% of young people think that they are good at public speaking. So just by, having that alone puts you so far ahead. Um, so I wanted to see what public speaking and sort of content creating and being online, how that all kind of comes together now. So I just found that to be interesting. For the next, uh, you know, let's say 5 years for yourself, what's the goal for yourself for your uh your uh for your community, for your company? Where do you see yourself at 30 years old?
30 years old, that's a hard question, man. I don't even know where I'm going to be next week.
Right.
But
In an
I
ideal
mean, I
world.
love traveling. Yeah, I love traveling. I love exploring new cultures, living around the world. So hopefully I'm in a position where I can continue to do that and obviously, afford to do that at a comfortable level, making solid income. But right now, I mean, I'm focusing on just, building myself up. I'm in my mid early 20s.
Right.
So this is time to grind, right? It's time
Yeah.
to grind. It's time to build something, build a name for myself. So that's what I'm focusing on. Um, and yeah, I mean, whether that's with this community or something else, whatever, I'm still figuring it out. I'm fortunate enough to be able to, trade full time and, make the money that I do while living the life that I have. Very, very blessed for that. Um, so the hard part for me has just been balancing that with actually building something. So, yeah, in 5 years, hopefully I have found that thing that I want to build, whether it's this community, whether it's another company, whether it's another crypto project, something else, right? I'm not, obviously rushing that, but by 30, I hope to, become the person that I have been envisioning for the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Once my first crypto project took off, and I'm like, okay, this is the life I want.
Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? They can find me on Instagram at underscore spreads with a Z. They can find me at option spreads on TikTok. There's also an option spreads Instagram page if you want. Not a lot of followers yet, but we're gonna get that going for sure pretty soon here. And yeah,
Awesome.
that's where you can find me.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.